All right, it says we're live. Well, hello again to all the boys and girls out there in YouTube land watching. John and Ellie back at you with a special live examination. And tonight I am joined by the venerable William Kepley. Thanks for joining me, William.
I'm glad to be a part of your first hangout. I know you've been doing a really good job with the reviews, and so this is just like an extension of that. And I hope this turns out well.
Let's keep our fingers crossed. Well, tonight, everybody, we are looking at the one and only Rolling Rock Extra Pale. And this beer has been around since 1939. It is 4.4% alcohol. The ingredients are water, malt, rice, hops, corn, and brewer's yeast. And this product was actually acquired by Anheuser-Busch in 2006, but it was started by the Tito brothers of Latrobe Brewery. So there's a little bit of history on it. I think William got some interesting information on the 33. We were talking right before we went live that the ingredients, water, malt, rice, hops, corn, brewer's yeast, there's 33 letters that make up the ingredients. And then the horse, there's a rumor that there was a racehorse that had the number 33 that the beer was named after. And then there were a couple other things. So I'll let you have the floor and talk a little bit about that, William, before we get started.
Yes, the racehorse name was Old Latrobe. And one of the founders that they placed a bet on horse 33, which was Old Latrobe, number 33. And the winnings he got from that eventually became the money he used to found the brewery in 1939. So, and also they did a coin toss for the horse, wound up being 33. So that's the one that the image of that horse that wound up on the can. There's a whole lot of 33. I don't know how many of them are true, but they're good stories. I think most of them, there's probably a grain of truth in most of them. Like the Prohibition ended in 1933.
Right.
The franchise, the Pittsburgh Steelers, were founded in 1933, and they trained in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. And there were 33 steps from the brewer's office, the brewmaster's office, to the brewery floor. 33 steps. So that's another thing. And there was even a reference made to the Freemasons. 33 steps. I mean, it goes on and on and on with these things. But as I've told you a couple of times off air, I think this beer's history is better than the beer itself.
Right. Yeah.
It's having their own website like this is very impressive because some of these venerable Pabst legacy brands don't even have a website. Some of them are hidden brands. And right now, it seems like if you click on anything Pabst related, it's like under construction, website under construction, spring cleanup. Well, heck, we're 6 months past that now. It's really disappointing when you see how well these whiskey companies do their websites. They're polished, they're great. And then some of these beer companies, it's like they're bumbling and stumbling, and it's just amazing the difference, between that. But Rolling Rock has a good website. You can drink the beer and then soak in the history at the same time.
Right. That's right. A lot of people claim that the recipe was changed when Anheuser-Busch took over in 2006, but I can't really find anything to back that up. So I don't know. I wasn't drinking Rolling Rock back before 2006 anyway, so I guess it really doesn't matter too much on my end, but a lot of people claim that.
Yes. One thing that they did say, when you go to Wikipedia, you have to sort of take it with a grain of salt. What are the sources stuff? But it was reported that in 2015 at the Newark plant, they discontinued the bottles. It's cans only now with the glass, using the glass filling tanks. Where before that was one of the, it's even on their quality statement on the back of the can, which by the way, is also 33 words where they mention
Right.
about the tanks. And this is brewed at 4 or 5 of AB's facilities. My can happens to come from Cartersville, Georgia, and but so it's a little bit fuzzy about, as far as the other, if you take that story literally, that they still use the glass tanks at the other facilities other than Newark, which was closest to Latrobe. That's the first place they brewed it when AB InBev purchased it for $82 million back in 2006. So it's a little bit, iffy on that part. But AB InBev, they're not a mom and pop operation. I think that they try to, the quality control is such to keep this product as close as possible to the original if they can improve it. Like you stated, I can't vouch for if it's the same recipe or not. I've only drank it for a few years, but and the mountain water, obviously, they can't still do that when you're brewing it across the country.
Right.
I don't know what the water supply is in Cartersville, Georgia. I'm sure it's fine. One thing you rarely hear about with modern brewing is they have a trouble finding a good source of water. It seems like with the technology and such, that's rarely a problem. I don't think too many people drink the beer and they say, "Oh, it's fine if the water was better." So but I wish it was possible, some way magically to get a Rolling Rock circa 1994 and a Rolling Rock circa 2018. That would be great. But unfortunately, we can't do that. But
well, you ready to get into this beer?
yeah, I'll get mine. I've had mine, like you said, freeze it a few minutes, so I'll pour mine and bring it out here.
All right. I'll go ahead and give mine a pour. And one other thing we were mentioning off air while he's going to get his beer, I don't know if we talked about it on the live stream, but the 33 could also have something to do with Prohibition, being that Prohibition was repealed in 1933. So there's another interesting little tidbit that may or may not have any relevance to the actual beer. And of course, I have the Anheuser-Busch loves to do these 25-ounce cans. Their claim to fame with these cans, that 1 extra ounce makes all the difference. So it's a good looking beer in the glass there. Nice golden color. Didn't really pour with much of a head in my glass, but that's just probably because of the glassware that I'm using. Smells pretty interesting. We'll wait for William to get back and start getting into the aroma a little bit. Another interesting thing about this beer is that it has both rice and corn used in this beer, which not a lot of beers use both. It's typically one or the other. So the fact that they use both the rice and corn adjunct is interesting and should make for maybe a little bit different product as far as the taste goes. But I guess we'll find out. All right. So it's pretty light. My lighting is not too great here, but it's a pretty light, either straw or a light golden color. Wouldn't you agree?
Very pale. Like I mentioned last night on the Hangout with the Wednesday night wild card, this would rival the Two Hats. Probably they're both two of the palest lagers you'll ever find. This is on the light end of the straw scale.
Right.
And mine poured a decent head out. The colder these beers are, the smaller the head is. Probably if you have a second pour, it'll be a little bit. But the typical lager has more of a soapy, foamy head, not the thick, dense head that you get with some of the craft beers. Some of those heads are almost like memory foam. They're thick and dense, or these are rather fizzy. They tend to recede pretty quickly. But there's nothing, it's just it's your standard appearance.
Right.
This
Do you
wouldn't
want
look
to
much
go ahead and
different.
describe the aroma?
This would not be much different than a Bush beer, which, if you were cross shopping, actually would probably be the closest thing you could compare this to, as
Hmm.
far as the stats and everything like that. You know, they're in the same family, same AB InBev stable. So yeah, give it the sniff here. I'm seeing corn stalks. I'm seeing a cornfield. Build it and they build it and they will come. Build it.
How about some rice patties? You picking up on anything like that?
Right now, this is ice cold. To me, the predominant is the corn. Maybe a little touch of the other adjunct in the background, but this one, you know, it definitely, and it's not a corn sweetness like you get with some of the other adjuncts. This is different. They
Yeah.
mentioned about, you know, in their on their website about being distinctive, and this is distinctive. Whether you like the distinction or not, you know, that's another question. But it does have a distinctive aroma. I will say that.
Yeah, I'm picking up on some corn sweetness in the aroma. There's a little, I don't really know a good way to describe it other than just to say there's like a twang to it or a tangy type quality on the aroma that is not something that you typically pick up um, in your standard American adjunct lager. It is a little bit different, but it's very light. It's not a strong aroma. It's a very light aroma, but it smells good. There's nothing off about it that I'm picking up. Well, I guess we should go ahead and
Yeah.
start drinking this thing.
Here's
So
the
cheers,
Rolling
William.
Rock, circa 1939.
All right. Ooh, pretty tasty. It's been a while since I've had Rolling Rock, so this is pretty interesting. It's actually got a little bit more flavor than I remember the last time I had it.
Yes, when you drink these light lagers, you get that sort of pop rocks mouthfeel, the fizzy, which adds to the refreshing quality of it. But for
Hmm.
me, this one really, the nose transfers to the palate. You know, there's nothing surprising. You know, sometimes beers, you know, you sort of get taken aback a little bit. They don't really taste quite like the aroma is. But this one, to me, follows straight through.
Right.
It's light, refreshing, the light malt, the light pale malt base, the corn, the adjuncts come through, and it is like excuse me, it is distinctive.
It is, yeah.
It reminds me there are a few other beers that have this same corn-like quality. One that I recall is the Tecate lager. The first time I
Mhm.
ever drank a Tecate, my first initial thought on the first sip was, "Hey, this is Rolling Rock." There was something certain beers have that certain distinctive something in their DNA that really sets them apart. And there are a few others too, but the Tecate really came to mind when I drank it. The connection between the two, and I think Tecate is 4.5%. This is
Mhm.
4.4. And something about the adjunct in this does taste different than many of the other ones. You're
It
not going
does. Go ahead.
you're not going to confuse this with like a Miller High Life, which many people cite for having sort of a mixed vegetable adjunct component to it.
Right.
This
This one has more almost. I don't know. I feel kind of weird saying this because people might be like, "What is this guy talking about?" But I'm almost getting. It's got a nice sweetness to it, almost to the point that it has a light honey sweetness to it that I'm kind of picking up on. I don't know if you've had the honey brown. It used to be called Dundee honey brown, but
right.
it's got a little bit of that going on for me. I don't know. can't say that I've ever really noticed it before, but I am kind of picking up on a very light honey note with this one, and it's probably just coming from the, the adjunct, the corn, but
Yeah,
there's something there.
there's a lot of, in the brewing process, there are things that are produced, such as like the DMS, which
Right.
many refer to as like it's just a byproduct of the brewing. It's nothing, it just happens. Some beers to more extent than others. Some have more of like the diacetyl, which is more like a maybe buttered popcorn. I've heard that reference often used with certain beers to describe them. And others, they have a acetaldehyde, which is more of a tart green apple skin.
Right.
If you're drinking a Bud Light, they sometimes use the Bud Light in these tasting courses to say, hey, here's a beer with that. We don't have to get a tasting kit. It's already in the beer. So that saves them the time and effort to do that. But these are, and we're all using descriptors. They don't actually have the component in it. It's just something we use as words as best we can to describe it. And this one has the adjunct as a different quality than many of the others, than what I would call the stable of American adjunct lagers.
Right. It is very enjoyable, I think. I mean, there's nothing off about this beer that I can detect. It is very different than some of your other macro lagers, but I would definitely say that it's an enjoyable beer, and it's got a lot. We were talking, or you mentioned the Busch Light earlier. I think this has a lot more flavor than the Busch Light.
Yeah, well, I was referring to the basic Busch beer at 4.3.
The Busch, okay,
would be the closest. Actually, if someone was cross shopping these products, but the Busch only has 114 calories. This one has 130.
Mm-hmm.
So difference. I mean, a Busch, your regular Busch beer is only 4 calories more than Bud Light. It's
Right.
110. So, but you have your Busch drinkers, you have your Bud Light drinkers. Never the twain shall meet. So that's how just the way people are. But this one, it is. If you drink a lot of these adjunct lagers, after a while, there's a certain. If you're not really, if you're just drinking it and not paying that much attention, a sameness can fall in almost any beer category. If you're drinking these things, but this one does have something that's, like I mentioned. I think your first sip of this one, you'll feel, well, there's something different about this.
Right.
And to some people, that they perceive that as character. Like the feel of a Harley Davidson motorcycle. It might vibrate more than some of the other brands. It has a different exhaust note, but some people like that character of it. Or some people like the smoothness of a Honda or something like that, which almost has a clinical precision to it. And some of these adjunct lagers have a different, profile, like a Budweiser.
Right.
A lot different than a Budweiser.
I think that's why you have a lot of loyal brand drinkers. Like, a lot of people only drink Budweiser. You'll have some people that are loyal to Rolling Rock. There's, Rolling Rock has a pretty big following as well. But and the reason a lot of people say, well, all these macros taste the same, they really don't. I guess if you're drinking these really heavy craft beers all the time and you were to maybe switch it up to a macro, you might not appreciate them as much and be able to tell them apart like the average beer drinker might be able to. But there's definitely a uniqueness to the Rolling Rock, the Budweiser. Bud Light is the same way. It has that super dry finish. A lot of people swear by Bud Light. They won't drink anything else, but there's definitely a place for these types of beers, and Rolling Rock definitely has a loyal following. You can buy it in a lot of different configurations in my area. The 25-ounce cans, the 6-pack bottles, the 12-pack bottles, the 12-pack cans, and then of course the cases, the 24 packs of cans. So it's everywhere here in Georgia, and I don't see it going anywhere for a long time. So.
Yeah, the one I have, the 16-ounce can here, has the blue labeling. They went back to the blue, where a couple of years ago, the can was just the green and the white. You can see the difference, and I like the blue myself.
Yeah,
That seems to be in it. But yeah, these
Stands out a little more.
the price point of this in my area is slightly above like the ice beers, some of your adjunct lagers, but still very relatively cheap for a 12 pack. Most 12 packs here would run you like 670, 675, something along that line. The sub $7 for a 12 pack, which is pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And but right now in my area, there's sort of a price war going on between the AB InBev and the Molson Coors distributors. Recently, the Bush Ice has slipped below $5 for a 12 pack. 472 at Walmart, which is almost unbelievable. 472
for a 12 pack.
For a 12 pack of Bush Ice.
Wow.
And in response, the Miller distributor dropped the price of the 15 packs of the Milwaukee's Best. I've seen it for as low as $5.77 for a 15 pack.
That's incredible.
How long this lasts, I don't know, but I've seen. I saw a lady about a week ago at the Walmart get 5 12 packs of the Bush Ice. This was in advance of Hurricane Florence. I guess she wanted to be well stocked with cheap beer, and she snatched up 5, and they had to go get it in the back at Walmart. The shelf was completely empty, and she got, and they've been restocking this about every 2 weeks. You'll find the code dates on this almost like a craft. I mean, I've seen stuff like 10, 11 days old, which for a macro is just the logistics of getting it there that quickly. It's amazing. And they're really going at it. Like I said, I don't know how long this will last, but it's interesting to see the two big behemoths punching each other in a price war. We're the benefactors. So I'd say let it go as long as it can, because for people,
the customer always comes out ahead in these types of
to have something like that, like a Bush Ice or a 15 pack of Milwaukee's Best for just a go-to standard beer. It's not going to be like your house brands. It may have some off-putting or quality. These are brewed by companies that know what they're doing. And AB InBev knows what they're doing with the Rolling Rock. If there's something there of a distinctive nature, it's there for a reason.
Right.
I think it probably is because they're trying to adhere to the basic recipe as close as possible, taking into account modern technology and the constraints of pricing and everything like that. So, I'll give it a thumbs up myself. It wouldn't be my first choice in an adjunct lager by the fact that at 4.4, I would rather have something a little bit closer to that 5.0 range, a little bit more overall flavor. Some of the ones in that, like to me, something like maybe a Milwaukee's Best Ice Premium. I think that's a very good value product. And of course, I like, and the legacy ones I really like Schlitz, Old Style, all of those I think are very good, which have bumped up their ABV a little bit more than this. But Rolling Rock has its place, and if you're like one of those drinkers that has maybe 1 foot in the light beer camp and 1 foot in the adjunct lagers, this would be a good one to try. At 4.4% and 130, relatively low in the calorie count, this might be one that you could sort of skirt the fence with, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's a great beer. It's kind of in between a light beer and a standard adjunct lager. It's not quite up there with Budweiser, but it's definitely got more flavor, in my opinion, than your Bud Light, Miller Lite, Coors Light. So I think it's kind of in between, and it might appeal to people that are more into light beer that don't really want anything too heavy. But I think it's a winner, and I definitely would give it a thumbs up as well. I guess I won't give a specific rating since we're just examining this beer, but it's definitely a winner and checking out. And if anything, the history behind this product makes it worth trying, just because it's got such a fascinating backstory. And
I just thought of another one. Because when the 33 words in the quality control statement when they sent that to the printer, the bottle printer, they put a little inscription in there. They scribbled on 33, which meant how brief it was, 33 words. But when the printer saw that, they included that in the label. The final label product included that 33. So, you know, that's
and they've left it in there all these years. It's still, they still have it at the end there.
It was just something that was scribbled in there. It ran just inadvertently to denote how brief it was. And when they saw it, you know, it's like, okay, they included it, and so that adds to the folklore of this beer. You know, so
yeah,
there's so many 33s. You know, some of these have to be true. And another one was that it was founded in Pennsylvania. Groundhog's Day is very popular in Pennsylvania, and that's the 33rd day of the year in Pennsylvania. So another.
Wow.
Another
They
33.
Just keep going and going with the different, the 33 references can just go on and on and on. Huh?
And if memory serves me right, this might be a stretch here. Tony Dorsett, when he played at the University of Pennsylvania, University of Pittsburgh, Heisman Trophy winner, he wore number 33, one of the great running backs of all time. And he kept that number when he played for the Cowboys. But there, he played in 33. You know how big football is in Western Pennsylvania. That's like the cradle of NFL quarterbacks. Namath, Montana. You're going down the line of Roethlisberger. I mean, a lot of these guys came from the Western Pennsylvania, and Latrobe is a big part of that. And now when AB InBev took over, or AB took over this beer, when they moved the production to Newark, New Jersey, one of their breweries. Eventually, the Latrobe Brewery became ownership of City Brewing, which also had facilities in Memphis and La Crosse, Wisconsin. And the Iron City beer, another heritage adjunct lager, is brewed at that facility. Not actually in Pittsburgh, but at City Brewings. Following these beers is like following a map. You know, there's so many stories behind them, so many different, you know, the twists and turns over the years, who owns these beers, where are they produced, blah, blah, blah. But the 33 definitely is part of the Rolling Rock folklore, no doubt about it.
Right. All right. Well, a good beer. Thanks so much for joining me on my first live examination. Anybody out there is watching, sorry, I haven't really figured out how to look at comments yet. So thank you for watching, and I'll get to comments later. But I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate you for joining, William, and hopefully this will turn out okay. And I'll be able to do some more here in the future to include the entire IBRG, the International Beer Review Guild, as Tyler Mansell so eloquently put it. But anyway, I thought this went pretty well. I guess that'll do it for this live examination of Rolling Rock. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and until next time, guys. Cheers.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the debut here, and Rolling Rock was a good one to kick off because, as I mentioned, it has an interesting history, and it's interesting to talk about it.
Absolutely. So there you go, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.